They say some doors are best left closed, but curiosity will often get the better of anyone posed with a mystery of what lies beyond. And out of the many door varieties, trapdoors take the cake for generating the most intrigue and, indeed, hiding some of the creepiest finds. From secret underwater passageways to hidden horror pits, grab your torches as we venture through some of the strangest trapdoors ever found. The Secret Swamp. When vacationing in the English countryside, a quaint lakeside cottage might seem like the perfect destination for some rest and relaxation. So, when TikTok user Robertibus booked a Lake District Airbnb for his family vacation, he was expecting to have a wonderful holiday surrounded by greenery. Little did he know that things were about to get a lot greener than he'd intended. Upon entering the property, everything was just as Robert had expected: comfy couches, a TV, a piano. But in the midst of the carpet, partially covered by a sofa, was a large wooden door. Baffled by the unexpected door, Robert's curiosity led him to investigate, and after a quick sofa shuffle, he was able to pull open the spooky basement door. At first, he was met with only a stairway leading to impenetrable darkness. With his pet dog nearby for moral support, Robert descended the stairs and, nearing the bottom, he was confronted with what looked like a sea of bright green toxic waste that was certainly not mentioned in the rental ad. At first, Robert was as baffled as the rest of us, but in an update he told followers it seemed as though the green water was due to the use of a staining solution used to find leaks. Considering the whole basement was bright green and flooded, I guess you could say it served its purpose. Although it seemed a little late to help that leak. But green dye or not, the discovery of this swamp pit wasn't the only creepy thing Robert and his family encountered while staying at the cottage. Water faucets reportedly began turning themselves on and off, and after hunting high and low for a missing TV remote upon arrival, it mysteriously appeared right in the middle of the sofa the very next morning. So, was a combination of bad plumbing and forgetfulness to blame? Or was there something sinister lurking in that swampy green pit? Well, I'll leave that up to you. Door in the water. The allure of most trapdoors revolves around the mystery of working out what's inside, but the secret behind this next hatch is finding it in the first place. The man behind this trapdoor discovery is Martin Zero, a history buff who spends his time uncovering the secrets of the northern English city of Manchester. Being something of an expert on the hidden architecture of his city, Martin had found out that there was a hidden river that ran beneath Manchester known as the River Tib. Pretty fascinating on its own, but why would there be a river under a city? Well, during the Roman period, the River Tib marked the border of a settlement known as Mancunium, until it was built over during the Industrial Revolution of the late 1800s. During this boom in manufacturing, towns and cities like Manchester found that they needed a more effective way to transport goods quickly. As waterways, canals provided greater control over the flow and level of water compared with a natural river, which made them less likely to flood and disrupt the transport of materials. And so the River Tib was bricked over and replaced by the Rochdale Canal that currently runs through Manchester. While Martin had heard rumors about a legendary trap door in the canal that led to the hidden River Tib, he wasn't sure what to believe. Legend had it that the door lay in the depths of Lock 89 of the Rochdale Canal and was installed to act as a plug hole when the canal needed clearing. But ever the historical adventurer, Martin wanted proof. After doing some research, Martin found out that there was actually physical evidence of the trapdoor at the canal itself. And sure enough, when he went to investigate, he found it. Carved into a concrete slab on the canal bank was an arrow pointing to the water, and Martin felt sure that he'd found the X that marked the trapdoor. Despite this incredible find, the water was far too murky to be able to see a door for that crucial proof, and Martin sadly concluded that he'd never get the chance to see it, if it really was there at all. That was until one day when he heard that Lock 89 was due to be cleaned out. This meant that if it was really there, that the coveted trapdoor drain was about to be revealed. Donning a hard hat and a camera in hand, Martin was able to capture something amazing. Not just proof that the door existed, but also a very rare look at the trapdoor drain in action. The trapdoor itself is over 200 years old and acts as a plug hole through which water from the canal journeys a 16 to 20 feet drop into the lost River Tib, which runs through to meet the much larger River Medlock. While he couldn't get down in there to have a look inside, the trapdoor itself was the real star of the show here, and looks like something straight out of an old shipwreck. While you might think this trapdoor just conceals water, it's actually hiding a whole 200-year-old world underneath, a doorway into Manchester's rich history. Anyone else really want to go and explore down there? An elementary mystery. Memories of school days are different for everyone. Some look back fondly and some with utter shame and disgust. But for one pair of adventurous students, one particular day among their time in elementary school was shrouded in mystery. Reddit user Asian Prometheus shared the story of the strange discovery he made after being caught in the midst of a mischievous pranking frenzy in elementary school. He and another student were left to clean out the school gym as punishment, while the rest of the class went off on a field trip. Bored, senseless, and left all alone, these whippersnappers were desperate for some excitement, and when they noticed a mysterious-looking understage panel, they sensed that adventure was afoot. The massive amount of dust covering the small door told the boys it hadn't been opened for a really long time. But with a bit of perseverance, they were finally able to prise it open. Crawling into the darkness below the stage, the boys were stunned to see that there was another door in the old floorboards. A trap door, of course, just in case you missed the title of this video. Being the fearless, or possibly stupid kids they were, these boys didn't hesitate to jump straight down through the trapdoor, only to find themselves ankle-deep in water. Regardless, they ventured on, splashing along a gloomy tunnel into an even darker room. The boys deduced that they were below the school's newly built kindergarten playground. Despite the presence of a tiny window, they couldn't see a thing. But high on the adrenaline of their adventure, they were thrilled at the thought of having found themselves a potential secret hideout. However, they soon concluded that the water that covered the floor was too deep to make good use of the secret spot, and so they decided to give up and tell a teacher. Confused by the boys' revelation, the school sent a team down with flashlights to investigate what was beneath the trapdoor. What they found will send a shiver down your spine. Despite concluding that the underground bunker was nothing more than an old storm cellar, no one could have predicted the terrors that had been lurking in the dark, totally unbeknownst to the boys. Little did the boys know that when they'd been down in that dark room, there had been several pairs of eyes looking right at them through the darkness. Thanks to their flashlights, the team sent down there were able to see that the dark room was filled with a whole lot of incredibly creepy wooden dolls. While the boys weren't down there to play out their own rendition of Annabelle, the question of how the dolls ended up there and what happened to their owners remains a mystery. I know I wouldn't have stuck around there long enough to find out, would you? Don't ask about the trapdoor. When checking into a 2-star hotel, you probably anticipate that it might not be the best night's sleep of your life. But one 2-star hotel guest had 5 stars worth of the heebie-jeebies when they discovered something disturbing in their room. Something that just kept getting stranger and stranger. Addison Castle, who shared her story with TikTok, was relaxing on her hotel bed when she first noticed a cut mark in the carpet below. Picking away at it, she was surprised to find a hidden flap in the floor. Seeing as this particular hotel had just one story, Addison didn't think she'd actually find anything below. But lifting the flap, she uncovered an eerie, hidden crawl space. The space was pretty small and chock full of cobwebs, and served no apparent purpose. But while there wasn't anything in it at the moment, it was hard not to think about one fact: that the space was pretty much the perfect size for a human body. Still feeling a little unnerved after she'd left the next day, Addison's curiosity got the better of her. She called the hotel after leaving to ask about the unexpected cavity in her room, and this is where things got much stranger. To her surprise, she received quite the bizarre response. The hotel receptionist became audibly annoyed by Addison's curiosity, answering every question by claiming that it was none of her business. Finally, the receptionist told Addison that the crawl space under her room was used for pipes and nothing more, evasively ending the conversation. If that's what it was really for, why was she so shady about it? And if that wasn't odd enough, as we can see from Addison's footage, there's not a single pipe to be seen in this creepy hole, only a wooden crossbeam at the end. So what do you think? Merely a rude receptionist, or a hotel with something to hide? Let me know down in the comments below. The Tailor's Trapdoor. While the insatiable curiosity to explore the hidden depths of off-limits places can be dangerous, it can also result in some truly amazing discoveries. One guy out there that can't get enough of adventuring is Brennan Evangelista, a YouTuber with a passion for exploring abandoned buildings, shared on his awesome channel, Uncharted Travel. In September 2018, one of Brennan's explorations became even more intriguing when he stumbled across something he'd never expected while exploring the small commune of Elise in central Italy. In 2009, Elise was hit with an extreme earthquake that shook the Abruzzo region of Italy. Shortly after the devastation, the population of Elise declined from 2,000 to around 800, rendering it quite the ghost town. Due to the steep decline in population, Elise is home to many abandoned villas, left behind by families fleeing the earthquake. After speaking with some locals, Brennan was able to get access to one such vacated villa that had been home to a tailor and his family. Inside the villa, Brennan found a whole host of creepy, abandoned personal effects, including the tailor's craft supplies, old photographs, as well as cracks in the tile, presumably from the earthquake. While exploring the kitchen, Brennan noticed a mysterious trap door in the corner of the room with a lock on it. Amazingly, Brennan found that the door was unlocked. When he finally opened the hatch, he was amazed at what he saw. Behind the door, a wooden staircase paved the descent into the unknown. When Brennan reached the bottom, he found the cellar's contents thick with dust and decay and presumably had been left undisturbed for almost 10 years after being abandoned by the family. The villa itself was built sometime in the 1400s, so the cellar was likely to be hundreds of years old and would have been used by many families in its lifetime. Unfortunately for its most recent inhabitants, their life here was sadly cut short by their evacuation, and the haunting remnants of a beloved home left in a hurry were everywhere. The place was filled with eerie reminders of what would have been used in the kitchen, from half-filled casks of homemade wine to jar upon jar of pasta sauce and other vague, rotten jarred goods. With no idea what the tailor or his family are doing today, nor what their reasons were for never returning to collect their stuff, the whole experience had an undoubtedly eerie quality to it. All that remains are the ghosts of possessions past. But I'd say that beats a basement full of ghosts, or snakes, or ghost snakes. Tunnels of horror. While the contents of that last trapdoor were steeped in family history, how about one that reveals the history of an entire country? This trapdoor may look straight out of a found-footage horror movie, but the reality within is even more terrifying than any work of fiction could ever be. This is one entrance to the Cu Chi tunnels. a network of underground burrows used by soldiers during the Vietnam War. When closed and covered with leaves, the trap-doored tunnel entrances are almost completely undetectable and helped communist Vietnamese soldiers, known as the Viet Cong, stay hidden from enemy forces. The Cu Chi tunnels span for 75 miles in and around Ho Chi Minh City, now known as Saigon, and are still accessible today. These tunnel complexes were made up of 1 to 4 levels, each separated by secret trapdoors, and included kitchens, hospitals, and other rooms needed for a functioning army. Not only that, but the tunnels were chock full of booby traps, including spiked snares hidden in the darkness. These were there, ready to greet any anti-communist Vietnamese fighters or Americans who were unlucky enough to be assigned the job of scoping out the underground burrows. Despite providing cover from aerial bomb attacks, living conditions in the Cu Chi tunnels was appalling. Food and water were scarce, and the tunnels were often infested with snakes, scorpions, spiders, and rats. And that wasn't even the worst part. One of the most challenging aspects of tunnel life was breathing underground. Despite the use of cleverly disguised air vents, like this one disguised as a termite mound, it was utterly suffocating down there, and the stale air caused near constant headaches and dizziness. On top of that, in such cramped, hot conditions, diseases spread like wildfire. And thanks to this, malaria became the second largest cause of death besides battle wounds. What's more, the darkness in some of these tunnels was so absolute that many long-term tunnel dwellers even suffered temporary blindness when they emerged back into the light. Geez, if I wasn't claustrophobic before, I sure am now. Holier than thou. If all this talk of secret tunnels and basements isn't spooky enough for you, how about a spooky basement inside a spooky attic? UK-based TikTok user Bad Gal Beep Beep, who lives in the boarding school her mom runs, found quite the double threat in an attic conversion when she stumbled across a strange creaking floorboard in the corner. Peeling back the carpet and removing a dark wooden slab, Bad Gal discovered a hole with a ladder descending into the unknown. Bad Gal by name, Bad Gal by nature, the TikToker bravely scaled the ladder rungs and found herself in a bunker that looked as though someone had been living down there. The place was filled with trash, but no hidey holer to be seen. Bad Gal was on the hunt for answers. In a follow-up video, the TikToker explained that the boys' boarding school her mom was in charge of had been built sometime in the 18th century, and the hole in question was actually what's known as a priest hole. Hey, get your mind out of the gutter and let me explain what a priest hole is, okay? In 16th and 17th century England, during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, being a Catholic was a big no-no, and priests had to go into hiding to escape persecution. These secret chambers were often concealed in walls and, like this one, under floors. Turns out that the hideout found by Bad Gal hasn't been used by priests in a couple hundred years, but it was clear that it had hosted some far more recent mischief. The soda cans, snack packaging, and empty bottles of alcohol revealed that the boarding school boys had obviously found themselves a little party pad for after hours. Despite Bad Gal Beep Beep clearing out the trash, the hideout still doesn't exactly look ideal for a chill spot. Unless you don't mind hanging with some spiders and priest ghosts, I guess a clergyman poltergeist or two would have made Sunday school a lot more interesting. Manhole masterpiece. By now we can see that the contents of some trapdoors give their finders a lot more than they bargained for. But this next set of hatches are quite the opposite. Street artist Bianco Shock has taken the idea of a trapdoor and repositioned it as far as possible from large, dark, cobweb-covered rooms, with an exhibition that colorfully and satirically showcases the tough reality of cramped living conditions. Dubbed Border Life, the 2016 exhibition showcased opened trapdoors all across the Lodi district in Milan, depicting a downsizing of ordinary household rooms. Beneath each heavy metal trapdoor lay a cramped world that seems unimaginable for anyone to inhabit, including a tiny kitchen with a clock and hanging utensils, as well as a minuscule bathroom. The underground installations might be modeled on what you could find in a traditional house, but are actually inspired by the estimated 600 people who are thought to inhabit Bucharest's sewer system in Romania. While no one lives in Bianco Shock's Milanese manholes, as nicely decorated as they are, the thought of being locked inside one is, for me, the ultimate nightmare fuel. But what do you think? Could you stay in one of those cramped border life rooms for the night? If you think you could handle it, I challenge you to handle this other video of mine about some of the most claustrophobic horror stories shared online. If you make it through without sweaty palms, you're certainly braver than me. Under-home dungeon. Moving home can be a stressful time, but if a great deal on a place is on the table, you need to act fast. That's exactly what this next trapdoor discoverer did, though not without a few shocking surprises. On move-in day, he found something that turned out to be a whole lot more than he'd bargained for. Everything looked normal at first, just your average studio apartment, but just outside the bathroom, a strange hook hung on the wall, and below was a mysterious trapdoor that stood out amongst the dark floorboards. The rent for the one-bedroom property had been pretty cheap, so it seemed unlikely there would be anything extraordinary below. Even so, he couldn't contain his curiosity and slowly opened up the trapdoor. At first, it looked like the secret hatch was just a small storage space. But after taking a closer look beyond the bulk of DIY supplies, it became clear that things were not as they seemed. Peering down inside the hatch, the new tenant was startled to see something that most certainly wasn't on the lease: a stairway into darkness. With the purpose of the wall hook now clear, he attached it to the trapdoor, holding it open as he cleared a path and made his descent. As he continued exploring, it became apparent that this wasn't just an underfloor room. It was a full-on labyrinth that stretched across the entire apartment complex. There was a lot to discover within the maze, including some cryptic graffiti, which might be a nod to the initials of English soccer team Coventry City Football Club, but could just as easily be the initials of a crazy cult. Maybe the Cannibal Cuisine Fan Club. Anything's possible. An even creepier find was a concrete slab that looked like some kind of bed or sacrificial altar. The tenant later found out that his new digs were inside a renovated English monastery that dated back to the 1800s, making the discovery of the tunnel all the spookier. Turns out the basement extended way beyond the edges of the apartment, and he could even hear his new neighbors in their apartments above the ceiling of the tunnel. With a dungeon space as big as that beneath the apartment, spreading out below other people's homes, the scariest thing about the dungeon is the fact that, unbeknownst to his neighbors, the previous tenant of the trapdoor apartment could have been spying on them from below. With that horrific thought now plaguing our minds into paranoia, I think a universal ban on trapdoors might be in order. But which of these trapdoor findings creeped you out the most? Would you be bold enough to explore the depths if you found a mysterious trapdoor? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.